Hi everyone, I hope you had a lovely half term and welcome back to story time on Monday the 1st of March. We're still on Roman Diary, the journey of Ileona, a young slave. Day 20. Yesterday I nearly lost my life and became a heroine, though I'm not sure I deserve the glory heaped on my shoulders. The day began normally enough. We set out for Agrippa's baths, not as nice as Nero's, for the water is less clear. We didn't linger as long as usual, but instead we went to the house of my mistress's friend nearby. Lydia was sleeping, and I took a crib to the other end of the house. Not long after there was a smell of smoke. Nobody was concerned, for there's always smoke in Rome from people cooking or heating fires with small wood to set the charcoal alight. But the conversation turned to fires, such as the Great Fire 50 years ago that destroyed most of Rome. Even when we heard cries in the street, there was no alarm. Our hostess looked out, but returned saying, "The fire is distant, and the wind blows it away from here." Then came a boy, a sort of loud hammering on the door. A boy hardly older than me, his face black with soot, asked for buckets, adding, "Have a care, the flame attacks your walls." At this exact moment, a billow of smoke blew into the room, as if Andranos, the fire god himself, had heard him. Everyone rushed towards the peristylum. As soon as we got outside, we heard loud crackling and felt heat on our faces. Hungry flames licked towards the room where the child slept, and nobody did anything. While my mistress sobbed, all the other women wrung their hands. One muttered, "At least it isn't a male child." Their stupidity made me furious and foolhardy. I plunged into the pool in the middle of the peristylum to soak my clothes, and covered my face with my wet scarf. Then I dashed towards the open door. For the rest of my story, I rely on others. For all I remember was waking up in bed at home and immediately retching a foul black paste onto the bedclothes. When the room ceased to spin around me, I saw Cytheris, who whispered, "I fetched our master from the Senate," and pointed to where he stood with my mistress at the end of the bed. They beamed, and my mistress said quietly, "You did a brave and fine thing, Ileona. We shall not forget this." Day 25 of Augustus. Today my mistress received a letter from her brother, a legionary commander stationed on the outer edges of the empire. He was on a big cold island called Britannia, somewhere to the far north. It's even further than Dacia, where Crastinus fought, and he doesn't like it. The letter started an argument between my master and mistress. When she took her brother's part, that Britannia was cold and the people are ignorant and not worth ruling, my master shrugged. "You forget my idea that Rome grows strong by conquest. From these new provinces we get slaves and treasure. It's true that Britannia is so far a disappointment, but from Dacia Trajan brought back £500,000 of gold and double the weight of silver, and if the emperor had not defeated the Dacians, they would grow bolder. Soon they would be attacking Rome itself." Day 27. On the way to school, I asked Cestius about Rome's provinces, and before our class started, he pointed to a map pinned on the wall. "Look, here is the known world. Rome rules a part coloured red. How much is left?" I had to admit that most of the map itself was actually red. When Cestius returned, he led us a different way home through the forum. When we reached a food stall, he pointed to everything on sale, saying, "Look, grain comes from Egypt, the oil from Spain, the salt pork from Gaul," that's France, all Roman provinces. Next door, at a hide and fabric shop, the same. Here is Egyptian linen, African cotton, leather from Britannia, and furs from Asia Minor. Then he stepped into the street and ran his hand over the shiny stone pillar. "The marble that made this pillar came from your country, Ileona. So you see, almost everything we have in Rome comes from distant regions that our great city rules." Day 30. Though my mistress always looks well, I had no idea until today quite how much effort is needed to achieve this. She called me to her room after waiting an hour for Pescus, her orinatrix, who comes to the house each day to do her hair. She was staring into a bronze mirror and applying the finishing touches to her face. She was wearing only an undershirt and called out, "Pass me that clean tunic, Ileona," without taking her eyes away from the mirror. Lying across the bed was a plain white tunic made from the finest silk I've ever seen. I couldn't resist running my hands through the fabric as I handed it to her. However, it wasn't her clothing that took the time, but her hair. At first she was patient, but when my work collapsed in a clumsy heap around her shoulders, she flew into a rage, shouting words that I've only ever heard women in the marketplace use. But at last she calmed down, and between us we made of her hair something that approached its normal appearance. As I left, and she gave me 4 shiny denarii, saying, "We shall make an onatrix of you yet, and I shall sack that lazy slug, Piscus. I have put the coins with my others I have been saving to free Apollo under the loose tile on the floor. Day 2 of the month of September. I do not know how I should write about what I have seen today. We went to the Munera, the games, at the amphitheatre, and they're not like games I've ever played. They have real battles between 2 slaves called gladiators, who fight with razor-sharp weapons. Today's games were a gift of the emperor to the people, as part of the celebration of the Dacian triumph. The gladiators fight in a big open oval of sand in the middle. All around rise thousands of seats. To sit in one, you must have a wooden token. My mistress gave one each to Cytheris and me as a treat. Come and sit with me. We'll be right at the top." She wasn't joking. Women and slaves sit on the highest tier, and low seats are reserved for the most important Romans, with senators such as my master at the very front. At first I was disappointed to be so far away, but when the spectacle began I was glad. We could not smell the blood, nor see the fear on the faces of the defeated gladiators. The first match was between netmen and a pursuer. Though the pursuer fought bravely, he soon grew exhausted. When at last he stumbled, the netman stood with his trident touching the pursuer's chest and turned to the emperor's box for a signal. I looked away, but my mistress pulled my arm, saying, "Ileona, don't worry. The pursuer fought well. The emperor will listen to the crowd." Looking up, I saw the emperor spare the defeated man and reward the winner with a wooden sword that meant he had won his freedom. Picture there of the 2 gladiators fighting. During the next fight, I watched everything, and by the third, I was actually enjoying it. The roar of the crowd ringing in my ears swept me along as a strong wind blows down the road. But when the show ended, I felt ashamed. As we queued to get out, we met my master, who had a surprise for us. He led us away from the crowd and down into a basement below the arena. Here we saw ferocious lions, tigers, and leopards pacing in their cages. They will fight in the ring tomorrow afternoon. The trainer of the beast told us that the animals are usually terrified of the gladiators who challenge them. So despite the excitement of the spectacle, I went home with a sad heart. Thanks for listening. See you tomorrow. Bye bye.